The war between the Xelari Empire and the human colonies had raged for 6 long years. Planets were burned, skies turned to ash, and the very air tasted of iron and grief. For Queen Shira of Xelari Prime, the war was not only a national tragedy, it was personal. She had lost her only child, Princess Xelari, in the 2nd year of the conflict. The young princess had been aboard a diplomatic vessel meant to negotiate with human envoys. Instead, the ship had been ambushed by a splinter human fleet. The wreckage was found drifting near the asteroid belt, bodies frozen in the vacuum. Xelari's was never recovered. Every anniversary of that day, Shira stood on the obsidian balcony of the palace, staring into the black void as if her eyes could pierce the stars and find her daughter. But in her heart, she had long accepted that Xelari was gone, until the day the human warship landed. The Xelari capital was still scarred from the bombardments. Towers stood half-collapsed. Streets bore cracks that glowed faintly with the residue of plasma fire. Citizens watched warily as the massive black-and-silver human vessel descended into the palace courtyard. It was not unusual for humans to come under flag of truce now. The war had been cooling, though peace was still fragile. But the figure who stepped out was no envoy in crisp uniform. He was tall, broad-shouldered, clad in battered armor that bore more scratches than polish. His face was rugged, a long scar tracing from his brow to his cheekbone. His eyes were the color of a storm about to break. Behind him walked someone smaller, slender, with a hood drawn low. The palace guards tensed, hands on their plasma rifles. The human warrior bowed, not deeply, but with the controlled respect of a soldier before a sovereign. "Queen Shira of Xelari Prime," he said, voice deep and resonant. "I bring someone who belongs to you." Shira's gaze sharpened. "And who might that be, human?" The hooded figure stepped forward. Slowly, trembling fingers pushed the fabric back. The queen's breath caught. The girl was older now, no longer the wide-eyed child who had stood beside her throne. Her silver hair fell in waves, her violet eyes glistening with tears. A faint scar cut across her jawline, and she was dressed in human combat fatigues. But there was no mistaking her. "Xelari," Shira's voice broke. The princess smiled, though it wavered like a candle in wind. "Mother." The courtyard fell into stunned silence. Shira crossed the space between them in a rush, her regal composure forgotten. She gripped her daughter's face, searching for injuries, for signs this was a dream. "I thought you were dead." "The wreckage." "I was taken," Xelari whispered, "not by the splinter fleet that attacked us, but by raiders, mercenaries, human and alien both. They sold me to a warlord in the outer fringe. I would have died there, but he—" She glanced at the human warrior. "Found me?" Shira turned her gaze on him, suspicion hardening her expression. Why would a human soldier risk himself for the daughter of his enemy? The man didn't flinch. "Name's Captain Rylan Vance. And I didn't care whose daughter she was. I found her in a pit, half-starved, forced to fight for amusement. I've seen enough of war to know a prisoner when I see one." His voice tightened. "No one deserves that. Not human. Not Xelari. No one." Shira studied him, her mind a whirl of conflicting emotions. Her people had lost thousands to humans like him. Yet here he stood, having returned her most precious treasure. That night, a private audience was held in the throne chamber. The War Council demanded answers. "She's been in human hands for years," one advisor hissed. "How do we know this isn't some ploy?" "She bears no implant, no tracking," the royal physician reported. "But she carries the scars of slavery in battle." Xelari spoke for herself. "Rylan freed me. He didn't just take me out of that pit. He fought through 20 armed guards to do it. He could have left me on a neutral world, but instead, he brought me home. Every world we passed through was dangerous for him. Many Xelari soldiers would have shot him on sight." Rylan added, "Your daughter's safe because I believe getting her home mattered more than old grudges. I'm no diplomat, Queen Shira, but I've fought long enough to know the blood we spill never washes away. Maybe this is a chance to stop spilling more." The chamber was silent. Even the hum of the palace shield seemed distant. Over the following days, Xelari and her mother spoke for hours in the palace gardens, under the pale glow of Xelar's twin moons. She told of how she'd survived, learning human languages, trading scraps for water, feigning obedience to her captors while looking for a chance to escape. She spoke of the night Rylan came. The pit had been crowded with fighters. Xelari was shoved forward, a blade in her hand, to face a monstrous four-armed Koran beast. Before the fight began, gunfire erupted. Humans in battered armor stormed the compound, led by Rylan. He cut through the warlord's guards like a hurricane, his rifle spitting fire, his blade flashing. When he reached her, he simply said, "You're coming with me." They had run, and kept running, through starports and smugglers' dens, bribing officials, stealing a ship when they had to. Each time they were cornered, Rylan fought until the way was clear. "Why?" Shira asked one night, her voice softer now. "Why risk your life for a stranger?" Lyra's answer was simple. Because to him, I wasn't a Xelari princess. I was just someone who needed saving. Peace talks between the Xelari Empire and the human colonies resumed soon after. This time, Shira insisted Rylan sit at the table, not as a representative of humanity's military, but as a man who had bridged two worlds. There were hard looks from both sides, accusations, memories of atrocities neither side could forget. But whenever tempers rose, Lyra would glance at Rylan, and he would shake his head slightly, reminding her of the battles they'd survived together, not against each other, but against those who thrived on endless war. Slowly, the talks bore fruit. Prisoners were exchanged. Trade routes reopened. Armies stood down. Months later, on the day the peace treaty was signed, Queen Shira stood before her people. Beside her was her daughter, wearing the ceremonial armor of Xelari royalty. And standing at Lyra's other side, without armor, without weapons, was Rylan. "My people," Shira said, her voice carrying across the plaza, "I once believed humans were nothing but our enemies. But today, I stand with one who proved me wrong." Captain Rylan Vance risked everything not for glory, not for conquest, but for the life of another. My daughter lives because of him. And perhaps, so will our future. The crowd murmured, some skeptical, some moved. Lyra stepped forward. "The war took years from us, but it doesn't have to take what's left. If a human soldier and a Xelari princess can walk side by side, so can we all." Rylan didn't speak. He simply stood there, letting the weight of his presence speak for itself. That night, as the stars spread like silver dust over Xelari Prime, Shira found Rylan alone on the balcony. "You could have left after bringing her home," she said. "I could have," he replied, "but I guess I wanted to see what happened next." Shira regarded him for a long moment. "In another life, Captain, perhaps you would have been my general." He gave a faint, wry smile. "And in another life, maybe we wouldn't have needed generals at all." Below them, the city lights glimmered, a fragile hope in the darkness. And somewhere deep inside, Queen Shira felt a truth she'd never imagined possible. Peace had a chance, because a human warrior had brought her daughter back from the dead.